Oh boy, hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to another movie review. And I just got done watching a brand new DC animated movie. I know, another one. We've already had a few this year. Shit, man, we've had so many in the last 12 months span. There's so many of these movies coming out, and for the most part they're either pretty good or really good or great. And there's an occasional fumble here and there, like The Killing Joke or that Harley and Batman one, which I didn't care for. I know some people liked it, but I didn't care for either of those, really. Killing Joke, I actually kind of liked the last 30 minutes of when I actually got to The Killing Joke, but the first half was like, ugh. But I really, really like DC animation. Actually, more than I like the live-action stuff, which I'm not going to get into it. I know that's probably going to piss some people off, but that's just my opinion. Sorry if that offends you. But I do like the DC animation stuff. I think it's great. I really do. So I was very excited for this one because when I saw the trailer for this back in, I believe, January, maybe February. I'm pretty sure it was January. I was really excited because it looked wholly original, something we've never seen with this character or with this DC animation brand before. So I was really, really hyped for this. And of course, the movie I'm talking about is Batman Ninja, which was, I'm just going to tell you straight off. I'm going to get right into it, okay? You want to know exactly what I thought of this movie? I'm not going to waste any more time. This movie was incredible. I absolutely loved it. Now, are there problems with the movie? Sure. But when it comes straight up to entertainment value and what you want from this movie, you are totally getting that. You want some Japanese, culture and stuff like that in your Batman stuff? Sure. You want Batman hold a sword while sword fighting with Joker? You get that. I mean, that's straight from the trailer. That's not even a spoiler. You get that. You want some giant robots in some way? I mean, I'm not going to spoil too much. I'm just going to say that's in the trailer as well. I feel like if it's in the trailer, it's not really spoiling the movie because they show it in the trailer. There's some of that. There's some of that, that's for sure. You want some really great culture shots of just Japanese, feudal Japan and stuff. You get that. You get some beautiful stuff in this movie. So I was very, very, very excited to see it, and I'm so happy that it really delivered on exactly what I wanted. I wanted a beautiful looking Batman story with some really great action scenes and absolutely gorgeous character designs. I loved pretty much this entire movie. Sure, there's problems. There are problems, and those problems do drop it down a little bit here and there. They're mostly small problems that accumulate to maybe taking 1 point off of the rating, I guess. So hopefully that doesn't spoil my rating. It did, but whatever, I don't care. But yeah, I loved it. I really did. I had a great time with this movie. So let's get more into the details, because I might actually start talking about, I'm going to try to hold off from spoilers, but I'm going to try to stay away from spoilers. So if you were just looking here to see a review from a YouTuber or whatever, because there's not that many reviews for this movie out right now, I tried looking for them, and I just wanted to see what people thought, and I couldn't find that many. I was like, oh, come on. But if you want to know what my thought was, I thought it was great. You should definitely go check it out. If you wanted a Batman movie where he is a ninja, even though he's more of a samurai in this, but there's some ninja stuff in there, that's for sure, then you are definitely getting that. You are getting a great Batman story that has never been done before, that looks wholly original with tons and tons of different visual and animation styles. I'm not talking about just 2D and 3D. They do a lot of stuff here that is completely just... It's beautiful to look at, and it's wholly unique. You don't really see this kind of stuff being used in animation movies or animated movies like this. So definitely go check it out. I highly recommend it. But anyway, let's get more into the details and explain exactly why I like this movie so much. Alright, so first of all, I want to thank the director of this, the guy that did Afro Samurai, Takashi Okazaki. I think that's how you pronounce it. I probably messed it up. I'm sure someone will tell me in the comments, because that's how YouTube works. And I want to give a big thanks to him, because he really did a great job with all the character designs and the animation. The animation in this movie, I'm not talking about the way everything looks. I'm talking about the way they move. The actual animation is gorgeous and beautifully done in this movie. Just the way people's faces, when they smile or when they clench their teeth and stuff, it looks very anime, which makes sense. It's an anime pretty much, but it has a sense of style that we never seen in Batman before. And what I really love is that even though it has all that stuff that makes it feel like an anime, it still feels like a Batman story. It's Batman versus Joker, and you have all these other side villains and side heroes. You got Red Robin, you got Red Hood, you got Nightwing, you got Poison Ivy. I'm randomly saying heroes and villains. These aren't like, I'm not saying all these are heroes, but you got Poison Ivy, you got Two-Face, you got Penguin, you got a bunch of different side villains. You got Catwoman, she shows up. Harley Quinn, of course, like I said, Joker. So you got all these different characters. Penguin's in it. So Gorilla Grodd. You got all these different characters showing up, and they all look great. Like, all the character designs are beautiful. Really, like, original, wholly original. Their designs make sense for the most part for a feudal Japan version of Batman. And I really loved it. And the whole story itself is very simple. It's straight up Batman tries to stop Gorilla Grodd from doing something in the beginning of the movie, and then he gets, like, Gorilla Grodd turns on a machine that he's working on, and it literally sucks everybody up into a time portal and brings them to feudal Japan. You know, and Batman shows up like 2 years after everybody does, so he has to like figure out what's going on, and he has to like adapt and start using more of his skills than all of his gadgets, because of course he doesn't have his gadgets anymore, and he has to figure out how to stop Joker, who is starting to take over Japan and turn it into an industrial revolution, even though that wasn't supposed to happen at the time. So he's like actually making giant machines and stuff. It's great, but by the way, voice acting's great here. I know I'm all over the place, but I'm really excited. You can tell I'm really hyped with this movie. Now I'm very excited. I'm all over the place. But so yeah, that's the story. And like I said, I have to give major kudos to the director of Afro Samurai. He did a great job with all the character and animation and stuff. I know he wasn't the only one that worked on this, don't get me wrong. Everybody that worked on it did a great job. The animations, all that stuff. The 3D animation was the one thing I was a little worried about, like maybe it look a little too video game-ish. And there's times that it does, admittedly, but it still looks really damn good. But there's times where it looks absolutely incredible, and also they mix it extremely well with the 2D. Like, there's times where not only is the background, you could tell 2D animation, but there's times where characters will be right next to a 3D animated Batman or Robin or whatever, and you can't really tell. You're like, wait, is that 2D or 3D? And maybe it is 3D, but they did a great job of making it look like 2D. It's gorgeous. The color palette, a lot of muted colors and vibrant colors at times. It makes the movie really pop, like all these different colors and the 2D and the 3D mixing together. There's even a segment in this movie that's a whole 5 minutes long, which I won't spoil. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about, where they use this different animation style. I couldn't quite pinpoint what it was, but it was very Japanese. That was gorgeous, and it was actually a really good little story inside the bigger story, really. And I thought it was great. There's so many great moments in this movie that really make it a really entertaining, a very cohesive movie. It really does work. I know there's a lot of people, again, there's not that many reviews, but there's a couple reviews I read where they said that there's a lot of it's very fast paced at times, and sometimes the story itself is not structured all the best, and sure, I could see that, but I felt like the story was fast paced, but in a good way, and also the little things they added to the story actually, I don't know, like the little thing, like I said, with the little 5-minute segment with the animation, actually added to the story. So I don't feel like the cohesion was not there. I felt like it was cohesive enough, and the story itself was perfectly fine for me. It was a simple story, that's for sure, but the little things they added there, like that 5-minute segment where it was all like this weird, like, Japanese animated style. I can't remember what the type of animation was. I know it has a name, but I couldn't remember. When I was watching it myself, I was like, oh my god, this looks like something. I can't quite pinpoint what it is, but it looked great. There's tons of different animation styles in this movie too. It's not just that and 2D and 3D, but there's little things here and there. There's times where they use like paper lanterns and stuff to tell a story, which is really cool. They even do, there's times where they're introducing all the main bad guys, like Penguin and Poison Ivy and stuff, where they introduce them in like a Street Fighter 5 style, like cue card kind of, where it's just like Penguin, and he like poses and it says Penguin right next to him, and then Poison Ivy, and she poses and it says Poison Ivy, and it really works in the movie. It's really fun. So yeah, and the movie actually has a nice little sense of humor like that. Like that's actually supposed to be like a chuckle-worthy moment. Like they're actually doing that. So it's really good, and the Japanese culture is definitely fused well enough where you don't feel like it's just Batman, except now he has a sword. It does feel like all these characters are Japaneseified. Is that a word? That's not a word at all. But you know what I mean. Like they take in the culture. It's not just they're there and now they have to fight in Japan for whatever reason. So I love that. I really did. I know this review's all over the place. I apologize. But that's what happens when I'm excited. Look at me. I can't even breathe. Okay, so anyway, like I said, the animation style, by the way, I wrote down notes. That's what I'm looking at. The animation style is absolutely gorgeous. All of it is absolutely fantastic. And it's very well done and very well intertwined with one another. Like I said, sometimes there's a 2D character right next to a 3D character and you don't even notice. And even if you notice, it still looks so good. You know, like the first 2 minutes, you can actually watch the first 2 minutes of this movie on YouTube. So if you didn't, you know, you're not believing me when I say like the 2D and 3D mix is so well, you can watch that first 2 minutes and see immediately when Batman shows up in feudal Japan. Like you can see characters in the background are 2D and Batman is 3D, and it really does mix extremely well. One thing I really liked is actually a story element, is that Batman doesn't really have any gadgets in this movie because of course he gets teleported to feudal Japan, so you know whatever gadgets he had on him are the only ones he has, so he can't call in anymore. He can't go back to the Batcave really. So he goes throughout the most of the movie. I would say the first 20 minutes he has like maybe the Batmobile is still available somehow, and he still has like his bat grappling hook. But besides that, like some stuff starts to disappear. Like his Batmobile gets destroyed at one point, and he loses the grappling hook. So he actually has to learn to fight without his stuff, and he actually learns how to work with his team, because of course Robin, Red Robin, all of them are still there, and he has to work with that team and actually trust people that he wouldn't trust in the past to help defeat the Joker, So these are little things that I really enjoyed, that it's not just a straight up Batman where Batman's just like gruff and he's like, I don't trust anybody. And here it actually feels more like a more, I don't know, not realistic. I don't want to say realistic, but it feels like a different Batman where he's almost a little bit too trusting at times. That might be a kind of a negative here. If you watch the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But there's times where it just feels nice to see a Batman that isn't just like, and then he like walks away and stuff. It's nice to see a Batman that is willing to trust people and willing to work as a team with his disciples, I guess. And it's nice to see that as a Batman fan. Even though, again, I didn't read the comics. I know. How am I a Batman fan if I didn't read comics? I only watched all the movies. I only watched the entire Batman animated series and Batman Beyond and stuff. Watched pretty much every one of these DC animated movies. But how can I be a fan if I never read the comics, right? Yeah. That's usually how it boils down to. Because I didn't read a comic, that means I'm not really a fan. I can be a fan, just not as big of a fan as you. Because I know there's going to be one person that's watching this going like, how's you a fan if you read comics? I can't. I swear. Like, I can't just watch something and not read something. Fuck it. I don't even know where I'm getting at. Whatever. That's another thing I really liked, is that even though I will say this is also a negative, so I liked and I also didn't like. They have a lot of Batman characters, like I said. I don't need to go down the roll call, There's a lot of those characters, and all of them look great. All their little designs make sense. Some of them have, like, weird different hairdos that make sense for the time, of course. And, of course, all these characters were there a couple years before Batman, so them looking like they have like Japanese attire and like samurai clothing and ninja clothing makes sense, not just them showing up and for some reason they have ninja clothing. That would be weird, but it makes sense. So you see like Selena Kyle, of course, Catwoman, she walks up and it looks like she has like a what does she have? She has like geisha clothing on, it looks like. I don't know what it's actually called. What is that called? Like the robe? Please someone tell me in the comments. But so she's walking like that, and of course Robin has like a shaved hairdo and it looks like an old-fashioned like samurai or whatever. So it's really cool seeing all this little stuff. So I love all that character stuff, character design stuff, and I really like seeing all these characters there. My main problem with that, though, is that a lot of them are not really used that much. Like all the Robins and Red Hood. Like Red Hood has one good scene that you'll know what I'm talking about, because it's really the only scene where he's really effective. And it's actually a kind of disturbing scene at first, because you're like, what the hell's going on? Why is he doing this? And then you realize, oh, okay, well, all right, I can kind of see why. And maybe he was actually correct later on when you find out what's going on. But I really liked some of the stuff with the side characters, but I felt like they weren't used enough. And towards the end of the movie, there's a whole thing where like Batman has to team up with his team, and it feels like it's not really a teamwork moment. Like he's supposed to team up with his team, but it feels like he's still doing stuff by himself. Like by the end of the movie, it's still Batman just by himself. So while the whole movie is about him like dropping his gadgets and learning how to fight for himself, really, with his sword and with his skills and stuff, and also working with his team through some of the movie, there's other times where it's just like, he's Batman by himself, because it's still a Batman movie. I do get that, but I just wish like Batman would also work with his team towards the end of the movie, where it's just like they're standing around most of the time at the end because there's other things happening, which I won't spoil. But when he starts doing stuff, it's like the other team do other things, and they make it make sense, I guess, in the movie, because they also have to go and do their own thing. But I just wish there was more like teamwork, like Batman's like beating someone up and Robin's helping and stuff like that. You know, there wasn't enough of that. I feel like there should have been more. You know, just a little bit more, and I would have been okay. That, again, that's a small negative, because there is stuff like that in the movie. I'm not saying there's none. I'm just saying there should be more, especially towards the end of the movie. What else? The ending 30 minutes is a giant fight scene, and there's some absolutely terrific action in this entire movie. And that last 30 minutes, some people might actually have criticisms, like it lasts a little bit too long, and I could see that, because it gets ridiculous at the end. I won't spoil what happens at the end. Let's just say it gets very Japanese at the end. It definitely doesn't feel like a Batman movie anymore towards the end, but I'm okay with that because it was still entertaining to me. But I could see some people going like, okay, this is a little bit too much because it's too much action and it's too much stuff going on. But it looked great. All the action was well done, I would say choreographed, but you know, it's animation, so, but you know what I mean, it's well shot, it looks great, you can tell what's going on, there's a lot of different things, it's not just people slashing at each other with swords and stuff, there's a lot of hand-to-hand combat, there's melee-to-melee combat, there's some range stuff, there's other stuff, again, I don't want to spoil, even though I think some of this stuff was in the trailer, I don't really want to get into it, even though this is a spoiler talk, I don't really want to, I will label this spoiler talk. I don't want to spoil it too much, you know. So I know that doesn't make any sense. I just realized that doesn't make any sense. So screw it. You know, I'll get into it, okay? There's a robot battle at the end of the movie. There is a robot battle at the end of this movie, and I thought it was incredible to watch all these different robots led by a villain like Poison Ivy or Two-Face, and they all have different looks to them too. They're not just generic robots, which was great. And then Gorilla Grodd has this giant like house robot, which is great. And at the end, Joker shows back up and they form into like a Voltron robot, which is, when that happened, I was like, oh my god, we just saw Pacific Rim, and I just watched an episode of Samurai Jack where they had giant robots, and now this has giant robots. I'm like giant roboted out at this point, like, but this one was a good way to end the giant robot movies and I guess show for a little while. I don't need any more giant robots for a little while. Do we have any more giant robot movies coming out? I don't think so. I think we're good. But yeah, so there you go. Again, that's a spoiler talk, so I feel like I'm okay with talking about that. But yeah, it was great. I thought that whole scene was great. The whole 30 minutes at the end. There's a lot of great moments with Joker and Batman. By the way, the voice cast in this, I watched the English dub, and the English dub is great in this. Of course, you got, you know, veterans. You got Roger Craig Smith, who has voiced Batman in the past. He hasn't voiced him that many times, but he does a really good job here. I would have preferred Kevin Conroy, of course, just having him say some of this weird dialogue, because, you know, it's a Japanese anime, so there's some dialogue in here that's definitely different from what you would expect from a Batman movie. So I would have loved to hear that, but Roger Craig Smith does a great job. He's always a really good Batman whenever he plays him, and I like Roger Craig Smith in pretty much everything I watch or play, I guess, because he also voices Chris Redfield and Sonic the Hedgehog, which is weird that he voices Batman, Chris Redfield, Sonic, you know, so it's weird that he voices Sonic. I keep forgetting he does too, but yeah, he's great. The scene stealer of this movie is Tony Hale as Joker. When I heard Tony Hale was going to play the Joker, I was like, oh, that's a weird choice. You know, he's from Arrested Development. He's from a few comedy movies in the past little while that I've seen. I can't remember exactly what, but I remember seeing him in a few movies. Oh, wasn't he just in that freaking 1517 to Paris, like for like a scene? Yeah, he's been in stuff where he plays more of a comedic character, and Joker is a perfect fit, but that's still, you see him in movies and Arrested Development, you still don't see him as Joker, but he does a great job. There's a segment in this movie towards the end of the movie that is during the last 30 minutes where him and Batman are fighting, and the entire time he's like of course cracking jokes and saying puns and stuff to Batman, and then there's actually a point where he kind of snaps a little bit and he gets like this evil face, and he has like the lipstick that kind of looks like, I think it's actually a mixture of his lipstick and blood coming out of his mouth, and he's just like, huh, you want to fight? Come on, Batman. And like he's saying things that just sound like he's really twisted, like he's not even trying to be like the Joker anymore. Now he's just trying to fucking kill Batman, and it really does work. He's a great Joker, and I would actually like to hear him come back in the future as Joker. So, you know, if there's a sequel to this movie, which I'm sure there will be, because I have a feeling this one's going to do extremely well, I would love to see him back. One thing I will also say is that while they don't really get too much time to shine, I thought Tara Strong was great again as Harley Quinn. Grey Griffin plays Catwoman, and actually she probably has more time to shine than most of the other side characters. She has probably the biggest role of the side characters, and she does a great job again. These are veteran voice actors for these characters. Like Harley Quinn, I mean, Tara Strong always voices Harley Quinn. She actually also voices Poison Ivy in this movie too, when she's kind of barely in it anyway, so it doesn't really, you couldn't even really hear it. Like when I heard it, I was like, is that really Tara Strong? I couldn't really even tell. But Harley Quinn, she's a veteran at this point. Same thing for Grey Griffin. She's voiced her for freaking years at this point, so she does a great job. And yeah, the rest of the cast is great. Tom Kenny voices Penguin, and everybody does a great job. Everybody in the cast does a great job. The voice acting is great. I didn't watch the Japanese dub, so I have, or sub, I should say, or I guess dub. I guess that makes sense too. But the Japanese sub actually doesn't make sense because it would be in Japanese because it's subtitles. So that wouldn't help me at all because I'd be like, what the fuck are they saying? I don't read Japanese. But yeah, no, the Japanese dub I didn't watch, but I will watch when it comes out on Blu-ray. I could watch it now, actually. I own both of them because I did buy this digitally, so I guess I could do that, but I think I'll just wait until the Blu-ray. I don't know why, I feel like I'll wait a little while to watch this again. But even though I do kind of want to watch this again, I don't know what I'm going to do. Anyway, so there you go. The voice acting's great. The character designs are great. The animation is gorgeous in this movie. All the different animations they use. There's some really great moments. Like I said, that one segment that's really beautiful looking. It has a very distinct style to it, and actually tells a decent little story there with some emotion. I thought it was great. All the side characters are underused, that's for sure. But when they're used accordingly, and I can't give it too much shit. That's why it's a small negative, because I would have liked to see them used more. But if they used them more and they also gave us more teamwork and they gave us more and more and more, this movie would have been longer, and maybe I wouldn't have liked it as much as I did, because this movie is 85 minutes long. If you don't count the credits, it's like 80 minutes. So it's a brisk pace, like most DC animated movies, and they get to it real quick. Literally the first minute of this movie, Batman's in feudal Japan. They don't screw around with 10 minutes of him in Gotham or whatever, and you know he has to go and find Gorilla Grodd or something, blah blah blah. He doesn't set it up. It's just he's at Gorilla Grodd's place. He's going to try to get Gorilla Grodd to shut off his machine thing, and boom, he gets sucked into a time portal. That's it. If I had any other negatives, some of the lip syncing isn't the best. I didn't think it was horrible. It didn't really bother me too bad, but It isn't the best. I think it's meh. Some people thought it was horrible. I thought it was just meh. They nailed it sometimes. Other times, not so much. It's very fast-paced. It is very fast-paced. So if you don't like a fast-paced movie like this, then you probably shouldn't watch any of the DC animated movies, because most of them are very fast-paced. So you should just not watch any of them, because they're really fast-paced. But this one is definitely fast-paced, with occasional times where it does slow down. Like I said, in that 5-minute segment. I know I keep bringing up that 5-minute segment, but it was a really good segment. Where they slow it down to tell a little story. But for the most part, it is very fast-paced. That's really it. That's a big problem with me, I guess. Yeah, so there's some great stuff in this movie. I highly recommend it. Please go watch Batman Ninja. Some really terrific scenes. There's that one scene with that lantern too that I know I mentioned a little bit, but there's a whole scene where they show paper lanterns, and they're showing all these different like like buildings and stuff where like Poison Ivy took over and Two-Face took over, and Deathstroke, that's another one. Deathstroke took over and stuff, and that whole scene's great too. Oh my god. It's so good. It's so beautiful. It's a great movie. It's a great movie just to watch for visuals. I really do recommend it for that. But it's still a great time. I'm going to give it a 36 out of 40, which translates to a 9 out of 10. Definitely go check out Batman Ninja. I highly recommend it. I have nothing else to say. I know this was a kind of weird review, but I apologize. Yeah. I got a little too excited when I started talking about this movie. I was like, ugh! But there you go. That's it. Thank you, and until next time, goodbye.